Welcome to the Ending Sexploitation podcast, where we decode sexual harm and provide you with active solutions. I'm your host, Haley McNamara. Well, welcome everyone. Glad to be joining you another week along with the wonderful Dani Pinter from the NCOSE Law Center. Dani, how's it going?
Pretty good. It's a rainy day over here, but happy to be with you.
Yeah, so always good to be chatting with you. And this week we're going to be talking about some topics that are a little outside of our usual, that just really are the intersection of technology, dating, relationships, sex, and what I think we could maybe term just like a cold march to dystopia is how I feel reading some of the headlines that I have been seeing lately. And so we just need to look at some of these headlines, and I am so curious for your thoughts, Dani, on this march to dystopia. Where better to start than with the viral sensation of Sally, the AI robot teacher who made huge
No, not the
international
robot
headlines,
teacher.
a robot. And I remember, I think we have a photo of this robot that came up.
Oh,
I remember I first saw this photo. It's a very disturbing, it's very uncanny valley
frightening.
for those who are just looking or listening on audio. I remember looking at it and thinking, I feel like I've seen this robot before. I feel like I've seen this style. It seems a little off. And then the news came out that the school that was going to roll out this AI robot paused their plans because parents found out that it was manufactured by a company that also makes sex robots. That is why I have seen this style before. So this was a
Haley's an
crazy
expert
headline.
on the
We
sex
had to talk
robot.
about it.
Yes, unfortunately, we can recognize a sex robot. I mean, the picture alone was so disturbing. So
It's a
disturbing.
little girl looking up at this robot that's looking down at it. I mean, it looks like a mannequin. It very much looks
Yeah,
like a doll.
mannequin.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, what do we think about even set aside the sex robot for a second. And what do we think about robot teachers in general?
Right? Well, I it almost it made headlines immediately because I think people saw that it was disturbing. It's just so disturbing for it to be this humanoid presence in the room, like in charge of children, not a real human being. It was disturbing because of the image, but so many people are bringing AI into their schools as it is, right? So it's like, is it disturbing because it's AI and it's not a human teaching kids, or is it just disturbing because you can see it in this like robot form? But so many schools are going AI native. I've seen a number, this is less public school, but I've chatted actually with a family who their child goes to an AI school, and the AI puts together their curriculum, and then the teacher just like oversees as the student is being tutored by an AI chatbot. Is that really that different from the AI sex robot? I don't know. Uh, but I just think seeing it in the humanoid form makes it more real how much we are putting education into the hands of robots or
Well,
algorithms.
yeah, I mean, for me, what's disturbing is sort of, the dehumanization of everything, of kids, of the person, of learning. Like, we can't separate the cerebral from our human bodies. I mean, maybe I'm getting a little philosophical here, but especially when it comes to children, like, school is not just learning for your brain, it's also socialization. It's, you know, the interactions with the teachers, especially this image. Maybe we would have felt differently if they were high school students, but this image was a very young child. And, very young children, half the teacher's job is being caring and loving to the child and teaching the child socialization behaviors, how to resolve conflict, how to speak respectfully, how to, all of that is just as much part of the learning experience as is like the math curriculum, for example. So that was what's disturbing to me, is this idea that we could actually depersonalize, dehumanize the teaching experience for children. They're going to spend 8 hours a day with a non-human before they've learned how to be a human. And it's a tool, it's a machine. Is there a human being there monitoring the tool? I mean, maybe we're assuming this is like a teacher aide and there would still be a teacher in the classroom, but I don't know if that helps so much, especially considering the size of this machinery now. And then if you like add in, the first thing I thought too about the appearance is, I mean, why? Obviously they put like the wig and the clothes so that she wasn't sexual, but even just like the face and like the stature, it was like she looked like, you mentioned a mannequin in the terms that it's like superhuman attractiveness. It's like she doesn't look like warm and parental or like neutral. Like she looks
Right.
very like high fashion model. So again, what does that imply in the message it sends? It's like, how is that the best visual for children and teaching? I mean, I don't even know what it implies. It's just, it made me immediately uncomfortable. And so then when you find out, oh, this is probably just a retrofitted sex robot, it like all comes together in a really especially disturbing way.
Yeah.
And you start thinking, well, how do they really override that programming? And is this thing gonna all of a sudden start doing like really inappropriate things in the classroom? Or like, I don't know, there's just a lot of implications.
It's just disturbing. I think it's just such a good visual picture of, like you said, this dehumanization, this rush to insert tech as like a layer in front of everything. And another piece about it being manufactured by the same people that make a sex robot is, I'm like, of course, these robots were first used for sex. Like, just all the time we're seeing technology, as the technology emerges and it gets better, the sex industry and its cohorts are like the first to adapt it. So before they made a robot teacher, they made a robot sex doll. Not that I'm in love with the idea of a robot teacher, but it just again shows, I think, who is adapting this technology first, and
How does it
then that goes
inform
on
the
to make
development?
the iterations
Yeah,
of it. Yeah.
right, right.
Just really disturbing. I'm very glad that the parents who found out about this
Yes.
spoke up. And it's, again, just a very physical reminder, as technology is introduced into your schools, question it. Would you feel differently if it was a robot versus a screen with a particular chatbot or program that your school is rolling out for kids? Question technology that's in your kids' lives, I think, is at least one good takeaway from that experience. Um, but it leads into also, Dani, something else that's a bit outside of what we normally talk about. But I saw this ad going viral, at least on my Twitter, my X account. I can never call it X. Uh, and this is an ad. We'll play it here. Those who are listening only on audio, there is a lot of text that's on the screen. So please go over to our YouTube channel and check it out, or just fast forward a minute and a half or so, and then we will describe what was in the video. But let's take a look at this ad that's going viral.
Big day.
Huge. Keep going. I got you. Send it.
You don't even know what it is.
Big though.
So what is the plan?
Nothing. You forgot.
And you're just calm about it?
I've got it covered.
This is Sam we're talking about.
Don't worry. I got it.
Lilies.
Yeah, your favorite.
You remembered.
Oh my God.
Of course I did. I pay attention to that stuff.
All right, that's the ad. That's the ad for Orchid, a new AI assistant that can help with your relationship. So, this was an ad for those of you who are listening on audio showing this AI assistant in real time helping coach the boyfriend who forgot about the anniversary, prompting him, reminding him after the girlfriend said, "Hey, AI assistant, my boyfriend's going to forget." And so then it prompts him, reminds him, tells him to buy her flowers, books the reservation, reminds him of what her favorite flowers are because he didn't remember. And he tells her, thanks, Orchid, you're carrying this relationship right now. Dani, what
I feel
are your
ill.
thoughts?
I feel ill. I mean, who wants to date an AI robot? And like, one, I mean, I have so many thoughts, Haley. Like the disgust couldn't, I can't even put into words. One, pretty insulting about this guy. Like, guys are so stupid, they can't even remember an anniversary. I mean, what a cliche. And two, it's obviously meaningless if the AI robot planned it all. Meaningless. What the whole
Exactly.
point of flowers is that it's an expression of the thoughtfulness inside the person's mind. The flowers themselves mean nothing if the person didn't
Mm,
think of it themselves. So you
it's the thought
again,
that counts.
it's the thought that
It actually is the
counts.
thought that counts.
Like, especially with flowers, they're fleeting, they last like 2 minutes. Like, it's literally just a physical manifestation of I'm thinking of you. That's all it means. I
That I
mean,
know
it's just
something
like
about
this.
you.
Yeah, it's like so depressing. Like, why would we want this?
Yeah, who would want to be in this relationship? Who would want to be in this relationship where you tell your AI to remind his AI to be a boyfriend, to be a partner? And it's interesting because at the same time, around this same time, there have been statements by Bumble, you know, the dating app Bumble,
Yeah.
where the CEO has said that, you know, AI personas are the future of dating and talking about, you know, there's probably a time when it'll just be our AI personas and our AI chatbots getting to know each other and vetting if we're a good fit to date in the early stages of dating. Like both of these things taken together at the same time, to me, it is just so bleak. It is so bleak. I know this
Have
is
you?
not sexual exploitation per se, but it's just this incredible depersonalization technology as the facilitator of a relationship to the point where like you're losing the humanity, the purpose of a relationship.
Well,
And
and it's
it's
like
just
replacing us. Like, I know people say that in different ways that are maybe overblown, but I mean, have you ever seen the Pixar movie Wall-E? This movie
yes,
was ahead of its time. And
it was.
in this movie, the people are living on this spaceship and they literally become little blobs that don't know how to walk because they're sitting in like little robot that everything's curated for them, the weather, what they're going to eat, what they're going to do. They so that they actually can't walk. They look at communicate with each other via screens, even though they're sitting next to each other. Like they can't do anything. It's where the technology creates like human regression, that we actually
Mm,
regress because the technology is replacing everything we actually need to do for ourselves. So it's like you can innovate too far to the point that like
mm,
now we're really just going to accept that we don't know how to connect with one another. I mean, this is so relevant to our issues, I think, because it goes back to the societal forces that contribute to all of this. And, you know, there's a lot of discussion about the male loneliness crisis and just the loneliness crisis of this entire young generation who are sort of a dating marriage crisis where this whole generation is expressing frustration and concern that they're lonely and they're not able to connect, they're not able to find partners. Like this would make it worse it is
Mhm.
hard to put yourself out there and be vulnerable, and that's how you find relationships. And before social media and highly connective technology like cell phones and everything else, it was forced upon us. Like you had to interact with the people physically proximate to you. And so the uncomfortability was kind of a non-factor because you just had to deal with it every single day. But as a positive result, you would develop friendships or relationships. And obviously, some people would be vulnerable in that situation and have bad experiences. But for the most part, that's how you develop those interpersonal skills. And we're just slowly putting barriers up so that it's easier to avoid those difficult parts of human connection. And
Mm.
everyone wants to avoid that if you can. I mean, if anyone could put themselves in the minds of their like middle school, high school self, and the fear and trepidation of interacting with your peers like was so palpable. And if you could have avoided it, you would have. And so we've like
Yeah.
created all these means of avoiding that. And now we're left with adults without basic interpersonal skills, and they're languishing and they're frustrated and they're asking why they can't connect with one another. And we're resolving that with more technology. That's our
Yeah.
answer. Our answer is just get a robot to do it for you.
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
that's
It
a really
reminds me a
bad
lot.
answer.
It is, and it reminds me also of, a while ago, there was an ad for that Friend AI, and this idea is this kind of interactive AI device you would carry around so you could talk to it, and it just is that social media has led to people feeling more isolated, and they're then saying, well, we can sell back to you the idea of connection or facilitate connection for you still through technology. And I really like your idea, your point about Wally. It's like in so many ways, I think we are at risk as a society of atrophy for
Yeah, atrophy.
interpersonal relationships and communication. And another point that actually also points towards this, I think we have a headline about from Bloomberg, where there's a rise of something that they call chat phishing on dating apps, where people are just using ChatGPT to start and carry out conversation on the dating apps. And I know that this is a real thing. I was chatting with a colleague, hi Caroline, if you're listening, and she was telling me too about, talking to friends and how people are now very skeptical if you see an M dash on a
And
dating
I
app
love
message.
using M dashes.
I loved them. I miss them. I don't feel like I can use them anymore. But now girls, and I'm sure boys too, are downloading dating apps. And if they see that, they're like, oh, that person used ChatGPT to write their message to me. And again, that just points towards, I mean, also just a complete abdication of your own voice, like your
Yeah.
anxiety about relationships is leading you to want the quote unquote right answer, and then you're defaulting to what this corporation is telling you is the right response, and suddenly it's just two companies talking back and forth to each other instead of real people.
And how bland and ugly. There will be no creativity, no poetry, no art, no uniqueness. I mean, how do you even know if you do connect with someone if we're all getting the same canned answer? Like the
Mm.
law of averages is it's watering everything down to a bland medium.
A bland medium, and in a space too where there's just I think that this does connect so many ways to our issues, because as society goes into this dark dystopia of tech replacing actual human connection, what's get left? People are turning to tech to fulfill everything then in a relationship. Like I think that the uh the AI layering relationships cannot be separated from generations that have also been raised on pornography and who are used to being in isolation. I think that there just is a connection there, between a pornography culture where relationships are more real between you and a screen than in real life.
Well, and I mean, I think we've seen it kind of play out in, you know, this lack of human empathy for the other person in a sexual relationship and how that relates to sex buying. And, we could just imagine that kind of this kind of interpersonal training via technology and AI, I mean, there's literally no stakes and no consequences. You can speak and do whatever you like. You put in a prompt and you get an answer always, all the time. And your desire, your wants and needs are catered to no matter what they are. So if you try to behave that way with a person, or you decide you want a person, the closest corollary would be just purchasing that person, where again, you just ask what you want and you get it, and you're used to having no empathy with this person, with whoever you're communicating on their sides, or robots, or are you gonna have empathy with fellow human beings who are not just catering to you? I mean, I think we're going to see, obviously we're just speculating here and postulating, but I think, if we've already seen that those who consume pornography are, disproportionately represented in those that buy sex, and those that buy sex, often are treating those they're buying with a lack of empathy, if not downright violence, and then you add in sort of all of these technology layers, I think we're going to exacerbate that same problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. It's that empathy piece. And I would add too, I think, we talked a while, I think it's been a few months ago since we talked about the fact that the pornography industry in many ways does create sexual memes. That I think we do see that technology is not neutral, that it has a point of view. Algorithms have a point of view of what gets surfaced, what gets promoted, what gets normalized. And we've seen this play out with the pornography industry, obviously in very extreme and visceral ways, such as incredible increases in choking during sex being obviously a correlation with the rise of choking in pornography. Different kinds of sexual acts have been regularly promoted by pornography first and then enacted in the greater population later. And I think that is another reason why I'm so uncomfortable with this idea of technology being at the heart of relationships, because if you're asking ChatGPT or the AI chatbot, well, what should I do for my girlfriend for this anniversary? There's a formula that is going to follow. And like you said, it like
Exactly.
devolves into a meme, and it all becomes formulaic, and everyone's doing
Yeah.
the same thing. Thinks and everyone's educated by it too. These are largely going to be young people who are using these things, and people say, okay, that's what a relationship is. It's like giving everyone an apprenticeship in a way to have a relationship that's completely devoid of and uh,
Exactly.
authentic connection. And authentic connection means
And
that you're going to make mistakes.
spontaneity and
Spontaneity. And it means that you're going to make mistakes, and it means that there's friction. And I think it's an atrophy of of bartering, of negotiating in a relationship as well. You're just trying to plug it into an algorithm.
it's high risk, because kind of going through those experiences helps us judge the other person's character, their honesty, their integrity, their thoughtfulness, their conscientiousness. But if everyone's just acting at the direction of the AI chatbot, at least in the beginning stages, then you're increasingly, moving into a more and more serious relationship without the opportunity to meaningfully or transparently assess that person's character and trustworthiness.
Yeah, that's really true, Dani. And I think that's why I think especially the use of AI to flatten or like accentuate communication in dating apps is really concerning, because
Yeah.
there are people very commonly who have meet sexually violent people who are raped, who are abused by people that they meet on a dating app. And you meet someone on a dating app, I remember with my friends when we were on dating apps, it was always so tough because you meet in a public place, you don't know who the person is. Even if you're sending a few messages, you have to take all of these precautions, but you can at least have a few messages as some data to see if they seem, like you said, conscientious, generally safe to have a first interaction with. But it's so easy now for people to fake that and to lure people into meeting up on dating apps. So that's just also, it's a very risky layer.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, we have there's another piece too of how this connects into our issues, and that's issues like sextortion. Uh, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that sextortionists are using AI chatbots both on social media, direct messages, and dating apps to reach out to people at scale and to initiate conversations with people in order to groom them into sextortion. And that's something that's a really significant concern because it allows, I mean, I see these headlines all the time, Dani, of someone will get arrested for having sextorted 40 people. How does one perpetrator do that at scale? And it's increasing. Actually, one of our colleagues was speaking to me about some law enforcement work and how he was talking to someone who was involved in sextortion, and he showed him their phone, and they had AI chatbots starting conversations ad hoc, just reaching out, phishing, starting conversations, and then as soon as someone was kind of hooked, then the human would step in and kind of close the deal to get an explicit image so that they could go on to blackmail them.
Wow, that's terrifying. And I'm sure they're using AI to like quickly canvas for personal data, personal things you could use to, trick and fool and find this person's vulnerabilities or, yeah, further defraud them. That's terrifying. Yeah, scale. I think that's the key there. The scalability of this is
Yeah.
frightening.
We do have, we've been trying to answer questions more and more on this podcast, whether you leave them on YouTube or Spotify, or sometimes people who are just interacting with us on Twitter or other social media platforms. We do have a question that was directed towards other content that we had put out about AI generated sextortion and also child sexual abuse material. And I thought it was an interesting layer for us to answer this in this context. So we were posting about the fact that AI is used in sextortion and other crimes, and then someone posted, AI did not create without direction. The individual using AI did it. It's not AI, it's the vile person using it who should be responsible for AI generated sexual crimes. So Dani, I don't know if you have any thoughts to that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with most of what this is saying. I mean, AI is not real. AI, and I think we all need to remember that AI is just an algorithm, it's a formula. So I agree that individual is responsible, but what this is missing, the piece it's missing, is that the AI is created by someone, it's created by a company, and the way that it behaves is shaped by the data that's put into it and the different parameters given by the coders and the company designing it. So they are also responsible. For example, its ability to create CSAM or explicit images is completely in the control of the operator of that AI bot, the designers of the AI bot. And now if a designer gives it the capability to create the CSAM, and then a person creates CSAM, I think they're both responsible. No, I don't think
Right.
the algorithm is responsible, but its creator is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's humans behind this technology. Although they don't want us to remember that, I think.
Yeah.
I think they would rather have it be faceless, but there are human fingerprints and decisions in how all of these things are being made. And I think, to kind of our concluding thoughts on how all of these things connect, I'm so thankful for technology. There's so many beautiful, amazing, productive, creative, scientific breakthroughs that come through with it. But there's, a viral quote, I don't know who said it first, that I wanted AI to do the dishes so that I could write poetry, not for AI to write poetry while I do the dishes. And I just see so often, why is all of this investment and capacity being used to replace the basic and most fundamental pieces of what it means to be human, our relationships? And that's where, whether with, teachers to children, dating relationships, sexual relationships, I would like AI to stay out of that space personally.
That's beautiful, Haley. And, my kind of last concluding thought is that AI is a tool, it's a product like any other. We got away with the exploding Ford Pinto. That doesn't mean we get away with cars, right? Some things are designed poorly and dangerously, and we just need to make sure they're designed with safety in mind and with ethics in mind. That doesn't mean we don't want any technology or that we shouldn't pursue these technologies at all. That's not the call here. And so don't fall for sort of the tech propaganda that criticizing this technology or asking for parameters on this technology is, a call to end or eradicate or shrink the technology or innovation in general.
Yeah, so true. Thank you, Dani. Thank you all for listening to this episode as we look at headlines and are dismayed, but I know that there are a lot of good things happening as well. Actually, next week we'll be talking about some really exciting updates and progress. So thank you all for joining us this episode and for joining us in ending sexploitation.